If I asked you what the largest e-commerce company in the world was, I bet most of you would answer Amazon without even hesitating. However, that might not actually be the case. Listen up.
Alibaba started 18 years ago. We never change our dream. We believe e-commerce. We believe internet. We believe by helping young people, helping small business, and helping empower women, we will have the future.
With a market value of more than $400 billion and more than 600 million customers worldwide, Alibaba is an incredible success story. It's also the most valuable Chinese company in the world. We could say that this company has become the best representative of the new form of Chinese capitalism. Let's go back for a second to the question that we asked at the beginning of this video. Is Amazon the largest e-commerce company in the world? Well, that kinda depends. If, for example, we take a look at the market value, that is, how much investors value the company at, then undoubtedly Amazon is the largest company. But if instead we focus on the volume of sales made through the company every year, that is, where more goods are bought and sold, then Alibaba wins by a landslide. Yes, Alibaba might not be as popular or as well known as Amazon. After all, it mostly works in the Asian market. But although it may seem far away, products worth a total of more than $750 billion are sold each year through Alibaba's different platforms. Now, those of you who usually follow VisualPolitik surely won't be surprised by what I'm saying. Asia is undergoing a revolution, a takeoff, an unprecedented economic growth process. Every year, around 160 million people leave poverty behind and manage to become a part of the middle class. 160 million people in Asia alone. In the next few years, countries like the Philippines and Thailand are going to have middle classes as large as those in the United Kingdom, France, or Italy. And then there's China, whose middle class is absolutely exploding. It's taking off almost vertically. So what happens when a person leaves poverty behind and becomes a part of the middle class? Well, among other things, it means they now have much more money to spend. This explains why the Chinese retail market has multiplied by 4 in the last 5 years, and why forecasts indicate that the growth of Chinese consumption in the next 3 to 4 years will be greater than everything the British or Germans consume today. And do you know who holds more than 70% of the market share in China's e-commerce sector and is very well positioned in the other fastest growing Asian countries? Yep, that's Alibaba.
Through partnerships with Alibaba, Canadian producers have been able to sell their innovative technologies, apparel, and quality fresh food to almost 500 million Chinese customers.
I'm sure by now you're beginning to see this company in a rather different light. But before we take a look at Alibaba's characteristics, its light and its dark sides, let's see how it all began. Let's have a look at the history.
Jack Ma's miracle.
He was never the best student, but thanks to the foreign tourists who visited his hometown, and especially to the relationship he developed with an Australian family, Jack Ma, a child born in a humble family just 2 years before Mao's Cultural Revolution, managed to learn English and acquired all the advantages offered by the modern world. And as is often the case in life, it wasn't formal studies, but the small experiences, the kind we often don't even pay attention to, that fed the success of the person who is today the richest man in all of China.
I'm 100% made in China. I learned English myself. I know nothing about technology. One of the reasons why Alibaba survived is because I know nothing about computers. I'm like a blind man riding on the back of a blind tiger. Jack Ma.
Jack Ma, one of the heroes of the new modern China, didn't have the opportunity to attend a good university. However, since he learned English, he managed to graduate with a teaching degree, got a job as a language teacher, and a few years later launched a translation company. And he was on a trip to the United States to perform a translation service that some friends from Seattle showed him what was then an incipient technology called the internet. At that moment, an idea hit Jack right in the face.
I was afraid of touching the computer because it seemed very expensive, but they said, "Come on, Jack, go ahead. It's not a bomb." Then I typed the word beer. B-E-E-R. And I could see German and Japanese beer, but not Chinese beer. Then I typed the word China, and the answer was no results. Then I thought, how interesting. If we could group all the companies in China and create a page for them, maybe that would achieve something big. Jack Ma.
And that's precisely what he did. After returning to China, Jack set up a company, China Pages, to list, classify, and thus find Chinese companies, something like the Yellow Pages. This company didn't have the expected success, but Jack learned enough to be ready for his next adventure. After a lot of work in his small apartment, both he and a team had managed to train without virtually any resources, created Alibaba in 1999, and it's now one of the largest companies on the planet.
The Great Market.
More than wondering what Alibaba does, we should ask ourselves what it doesn't do. Because, see, Alibaba isn't simply an e-commerce portal, but rather a kind of technological intermediary. In other words, unlike Amazon, Alibaba doesn't sell anything directly, but basically functions as a large market where thousands and thousands of brands, producers, and distribution companies sell their products to millions of customers. That is, Alibaba is the owner company, the company that manages this huge market and supplies everything that brands, producers, and distributors need to be able to carry out their business, from payment platforms to metadata. In fact, this may be its biggest difference from Amazon. For example, think about the huge amount of data that these companies handle: consumer trends, budgets, types of customers, purchase timing, etc. Well, while Amazon uses all that data to develop its own product lines, Alibaba shares them with the companies that operate through their markets so that they can launch new products or know their consumers' preferences better and thus sell more, making the market grow, which makes Alibaba grow. Thus, over time, Alibaba has developed several different markets. So, if you'd like to better understand what Alibaba is exactly, let's take a look at what those markets are and how they differ. First of all, we have Alibaba.com, a huge wholesale market, perhaps the largest online wholesale market on the planet. That is to say, this market isn't aimed at consumers. Through this space, producers and manufacturers sell their products in bulk to other companies so they can distribute them in their countries. For example, say you have a store and you want to order 5,000 red shirts with a specific logo, this is the place that you go to.
Unless we use Alibaba, it's extremely difficult, expensive, and frustrating to find a supplier. Alibaba cut out the middleman. They make it extremely easy to find, communicate, and negotiate with suppliers directly through their website. Jay Jun, businessman and investor.
Then, in China, in addition to the local wholesale markets, which in this case is known as 1688.com, Alibaba has two of the largest retail electronic commerce markets in the country: Taobao and Tmall. See, Taobao is pretty much a combination between Amazon and eBay. Here, practically anyone can sell their product. It's a market with thousands and thousands of suppliers and almost 600 million active consumers. Tmall, on the other hand, is a large online shopping center oriented towards big brands. Here, the brands pay a fee to have their own store, basically like any shopping mall. Then, one of the lesser-known crown jewels, Alibaba owns more than 80% of Lazada, the most important e-commerce company in South Asia. This is a company that operates in countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand. And watch out, because we aren't talking about something small scale. Only in the next 2 to 3 years, these countries will see their middle class multiplied by 2 to surpass 400 million people. 400 million people that Alibaba wants to turn into customers. And finally, we have what is probably the best known platform for most of us, AliExpress, an international consumer-oriented platform. Well, these folks are Alibaba's main markets, but the company's activities don't end there. Alibaba is also one of the 5 most important cloud computing companies in the world, and of course, it's China's undisputed leader. And this division's growth rate has surpassed 100% annually in recent years. Companies such as KPMG, Nestle, Philips, and SAP already use AliCloud services. It also owns Youku, a streaming platform similar to YouTube, Elle.me, China's largest home delivery company, which among many other companies also holds a significant share of Weibo, something like the Chinese Facebook. But just a second, have any of you heard of Alipay? For those who don't know what it is, Alipay is very similar to PayPal. It has more than 870 million active users and is the leader in the Chinese mobile payment market. Because, see, in China, credit cards aren't common at all. The Chinese have jumped directly to mobile payments, so when they go to the supermarket, instead of paying with Visa or MasterCard, they use Alipay or WeChat's payment services, the two main payment systems in the Chinese market. While Alibaba owns 33% of Ant Financial, the company that owns Alipay, and also Paytm, the leading mobile payment application in India, another strongly growing market. To give you an idea of what this means, Ant Financial's estimated value surpasses $150 billion. But just a moment, because if this entire online bet wasn't enough, Alibaba is also investing billions in supermarkets and other physical stores where it has its own brand, Hema, and is also the largest shareholder in the Sun Art Retail Group, the largest supermarket and hypermarket operator in all of China. So as you can see, the Alibaba empire extends its tentacles into a lot of sectors. To sum things up, Alibaba has services equivalent to those of Amazon, eBay, Just Eat, Visa, YouTube, Facebook, and even Carrefour, all in the same company. Certainly not bad. Well, this is precisely why this company is worth more than $400 billion on the stock market. But I don't think we can end this story without talking about the future.
Risks and opportunities.
However we look at it, Alibaba's plans are very ambitious. By 2020, sales made through Alibaba's different platforms will exceed $1 trillion. And in just 18 years, the company aims to surpass 2 billion customers. So yeah, that's the goal, but will they achieve it? Well, obviously we can't know, but the truth is that it has many cards on the table. See, despite this company's huge growth since its foundation in 1999, it still has great potential. Not only because e-commerce is growing a lot around the world, but also because everything indicates that growth will be explosive for many years, particularly in this region. Let's take a look at, for example, China, Alibaba's main market. Here, the internet has only expanded by 55%, so there's still a lot of work to do. We're talking about hundreds of millions of people who will sooner or later connect to the internet and start making their first online purchases. And not only that, given that Chinese purchasing power is growing stronger year after year, the same is happening with the average amount of purchases. See, since 2015, the average Alibaba customer's spending has grown by 50% in China. So if we combine more spending and more clients, well, you can see how enormous the potential is here. And then, in addition, there are the countries which belong to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and also India. We're talking about an area of the world that is not only going to see huge economic growth, but is also estimated to grow by more than 700 million people in the next 3 decades. All of this is, of course, in addition to the international market. Now, hold on a second, because everything's not so rosy. Like many internet companies who focus all their attention on growing and growing, the company isn't actually making much money. In this case, we're talking about a $400 billion company that has barely managed to make a net profit of $8.4 billion in the last 12 months. And that might sound like a lot of money, but the market value is 50 times the net profit, and that's a lot. And of course, one might think, well, okay, but so what? I mean, it's definitely going to make money in the future. Well, maybe, or maybe not. Because if a market grows so much, it usually entails a very strong incentives for new competitors, new rivals, something that is already happening in a certain way. Look, competitors like JD.com and especially Pinduoduo are investing a lot of money to compete with Alibaba, and even though they are very successful, they may never beat Alibaba, or maybe they will. The truth is that no matter what, it adds more pressure to the market, which may reduce the margins in which these companies operate in the future. And then, of course, there's the Chinese government, which, as you know, is not exactly the best guarantor in the world. As you know, the Chinese government does and undoes things as it pleases, and they can even determine who survives in a market and who doesn't. That means that a botched delivery to a Communist Party leader could become Alibaba's worst nightmare. In any case, it's clear that Alibaba is the best example of the changes that our world is experiencing, how Asia is gaining power and how it's beginning to acquire its own large multinationals, and it's something we're gonna have to get used to. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please do hit that like button if you did, and don't forget to subscribe for brand new videos. Also, don't forget to check out our friends at the Reconsider Media podcast. They provided the vocals in this episode that were not mine. Also, this channel, this video, it's all possible because of Patreon and our patrons on that platform. Please do consider joining them and supporting us in our mission of providing independent political coverage. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.